Hey guys, so today I want to talk to you about some of the shrubs that I'm going to be adding to my garden this year. If you follow me on Instagram, I had the opportunity to go out to Proven Winners this past fall for their Creators Roundtable. Now this is a new program for content creators and people in the media industry to sit down, learn about Proven Winners and about a lot of the new stuff that's coming to market and some of the stuff that they have had on the market that they feel are proven varieties to really get into people's yards. So a lot of you probably already get the Gardening Simplified magazine. This is all of their shrubs, of their shrub division. It's a really great resource just for inspiration. They have some plans in here, and then they also just talk about the great attributes of each of the plants. You can see I've even gotten some sections tagged already. And in the back of the catalog, you'll find all of the sizes and some of the extra information that may not be listed in the description. So if you haven't gotten this already, you can sign up on their website to receive this. But today I wanted to talk about some of the shrubs that they're sending me through their shrub division. I've got 18 shrubs to talk to you about. I'm not going to make this a long video. I'm just going to give you the few key points behind them and keep it moving to inspire you and to maybe get you out into the garden centers to pick up some of these, because this year I'm focusing on fragrance as the main thing. Second would be fall color, and then winter interest from some of these as well. So let's dive right on in. The first one, which is Metamorphosa Acer palmatum. This is a smaller tree, about 13 foot tall, and I believe it was 8 foot wide. I'm going to have this one potted up, but we're going to skip that one because it really wasn't a part of the video. But number 2 is going to be Abelia Sweet Emotion. So this Abelia is hardy from zones 4 to 8. It is one of the most cold hardy tolerant varieties on the market. It blooms in spring, white blooms with the back of the petals being a pink, and it smells like jasmine, which right there you had me. This Abelia takes full sun to part shade, and it can be trimmed after it's bloomed if the size is too much, which is between 5 and 6 feet tall and wide, so it provides some room. They do have a couple other varieties that stay small, but they have a variegated foliage, which is something that I actually wasn't looking for this go around of plants. Just because I have a lot of high contrasting plants, I needed some stuff that was a little more simple and would fade away in the background as a backdrop to some of the other plants. And the fall foliage color is red, which is super exciting for me. Shrub has a medium deer resistance, which according to Proven Winners in their catalog means that deer will occasionally browse this, may nibble and taste it, but generally it's not going to be damaged hard by deer. So you could put it out in an area that's maybe not as well traveled by them, but maybe it'll get nipped once or twice. It's not that big of a deal. Next on my list is Tater Top Arborvitae. Now this cute little ball of joy is hardy from zone 3 through 8 and gets 2 to 3 foot tall, 3 to 4 foot wide. This variety takes full sun to part sun, and in my experience, because I do have some of them already in hand, they do get a touch of a bronze tinge to their foliage during winter. It's not too much, so don't freak out and don't turn away from this, but it's just on the outer side tips. The rest of it does stay green. This is a native cultivar, being a smaller dwarf variety, like I said, being only 2 to 3 foot tall. Has a low deer resistance, meaning that deer will browse this variety. Now, I have arborvitaes out in my yard, actually aligned, growing through my entire yard, and they have not browsed on those. Those are the green giants. This may be different for you in your area. If you've trained your deer to expect that they're going to taste bad, generally they'll slow down, but this is something maybe you want to keep close to the house or and be behind a fence, which would be better. Next one up is PUGSTER Blue Butterfly Bush. This is a dwarf butterfly bush, only getting to 2 foot tall and wide. It is hardy through zones 5 through 9. These need absolutely well-drained soil. They do not like to have their feet wet, so remember that when you're siting it. And they do take full sun. Part sun's not going to be their best friend. You're not going to get the blooms you want. In fact, some of the taller varieties, unlike this one, will actually flop in those situations and be leggy, and it's just not a good look. So site these in full sun. These are deer resistant. Deer do not seem to like these at all. The blooms are super fragrant, and this is a deep blue flower. They do have a silver foliage on them, which has like a green undertone, but it's more silver, which I like because it contrasts well with other things in the garden. You want to prune these in early spring to shape them up if need be, but being this is dwarf, you really shouldn't have to. Next one on the list is new to me and new this year. It is called Desert Orchid CHITALPA. This is called El Nino, and this is a native hybrid for us of the catalpa tree and a western variety of shrub. I cannot remember what the internet said on it when I looked it up. In late spring to early summer with a dark purple orchid-like flower, kind of in a snapdragon fashion if you crunch the snapdragon bloom down a little bit, but it has that same effect. They're also, the catalpa tree itself is known as a snapdragon tree or princess tree. That's what you might know them more as, but this is a dwarf variety because it's been hybridized with the western variety, and I think this is going to be really cool. I'm really curious to see how it looks in person and how well it does. These can handle a wide variety of situations, but best sun or part sun will get you the best amount of blooms. I forgot to mention that El Nino has a high deer resistance to it, so this would be great in higher traffic areas. Deers aren't going to try to eat this one. Next on the list is KODIAK Fresh DERVILLA. Now this one's a new one, I believe from last year, could be new this year. This is a smaller DERVILLA from the KODIAK series with lime green foliage with orangish red, kind of looks almost peach on the website and in the catalogs. Tips, and they bloom yellow flowers. These do really great in full sun to shade. I've grown a number of these other varieties in pretty decent amount of shade under maple trees, and they have performed really well. They're drought resistant but do better with semi-moist conditions. The fall color on this one is supposed to be red. So this is a native cultivar as well, and this also has a medium deer resistance to it. As we keep going, CEDAR RAPIDS Chamaecyparis. This is zones 4 through 8, full sun to part shade, 30 feet tall and about 15 foot wide. This is a medium deer resistant type of shrub, evergreen. It's supposed to be fast growing, it has feathery lime green foliage to it, which when I saw it in the catalog, I was immediately drawn to that out of all the false cypress. So I asked if there was any chance of getting this one. She said that this one's probably going to be a small one that I'm going to have to baby up a little bit, which I'm totally fine with. I have the perfect spot for it down by the fire pit area, so I'm going to be adding it down there. Let's talk some hydrangeas. So I have been known not to really love hydrangeas. I honestly don't think the world needs another hydrangea, but I've got them. I'm very particular about the ones that I bring in to my yard, but this one, these next two actually, are really interesting to me and I want to give them a try. So the first one is Invincible Lace Hydrangea. This is a open lacy flower in the plum to purple tones of the smooth hydrangea. These will get about 4 to 5 foot tall and wide and are hardy from zones 3 through 8. They do best in sun to part shade. These ones will bloom right in sync with the other varieties of smooth hydrangeas in summer. And you can give these prune back early spring to shape them if you need to. But this variety really shouldn't be pruned because it has a very nice open habit on it, which I think is just so much more natural and what this plant really should be looking like, with the open florets of purple to plum color in the center. So this is a native species as well. It's a cultivar of a native species, and they are super reliable. They look really great in any setting. Now these have low deer resistance. Deer will eat these down, so put these behind a fence or out of a traffic zone. The next one is a new one coming out this year. It is called Invincible Sublime, and it has lime green flowers with a touch of pink behind them. This one will also get between 3 to 5 foot tall and wide, and can be pruned in early spring as well. Again, not very deer resistant, so keep it out of the line of path there. But this is another native cultivar. I definitely wanted to give these a try. I've got 3 of these coming. I haven't pinpointed exactly where those ones are going, but we'll see what happens. I've got 3 lilacs coming. Again, this is all about scent this year, and I'm doing the Bloomerang Dark Purple, Bloomerang Dwarf Pink, and SCENTARA Double Blue. Now, the double purple gets between 4 and 6 feet tall and wide. It is hardy from zones 3 to 7, and it blooms from spring to fall, and you should do a prune after the first set of blooms to encourage the next round of blooms. That goes for the Bloomerang Dwarf Pink as well. That one's hardy from zones 3 to 7, but that one only gets 2.5 to 3 foot tall and wide and has a deeper pink flower. So if you kind of sense this theme here, on some of them I really like the jewel tones. I'm adding some whites to my garden this year, which is really interesting for me because I'm generally not attracted to white. And then I have like 1 or 2 pastels, but the SCENTARA Double Blue is like your standard lilac. This one's going to get larger. It's hardy from zones 2 to 8 and gets about 6 to 8 foot tall and wide. This one is only going to bloom in the spring, these double purpley blue flowers. Now, the trick with lilacs, if you have any problems with them, is they do not like a lot of moisture around their feet. So stop over watering them, water them in once, wait, check the soil, make sure that it is going dry. They do not like wet feet. Full sun, or there's a tendency to accumulate like powdery mildew and that type of stuff, which you don't want. And then you can prune out old growth as it comes, but just make sure these shrubs stay open and airy, and you'll resist that issue. With the lilacs, they are high deer resistance. Deer tend to not use these. Next on the list is Rise Up EMBERAYS Climbing Rose. Now this is part of their dwarf series of roses, and this one won't be out till next year, but I was lucky enough to get one to try this year. This one is hardy from zones 5 to 8, and it'll get 3 to 5 foot tall and only 2 to 3 foot wide. It does need full sun, self-cleans. It's a beautiful orange and apricot colors with a yellow center on them. I was drawn to this one. I'm not even really a rose fan just because of the maintenance levels behind them, but I tend to really love an orange rose. And I'm thinking about putting this one in a container in front of our garage and then compiling some annuals below it as well. This has a low deer resistance. Will start to bloom from summer to fall. We're nearing the end of the list. We have 5 left, and we're going to run through them real quick with you. Next one is SUGARTINA CRYSTALINA sweet shrub, also known as clethra. This is one of my favorite shrubs for late summer blooms that smell intoxicating. I have ruby spice right next to my gate, so when you're walking in, you get that scent, but it's also close enough to our patio that you smell it from there, and let me tell you, it fills the air. Now, ruby spice is a bigger variety, about 5 to 8 foot tall and wide. As it matures, mine is about roughly 5, almost 6 foot this year. I'm going to give it a light pruning to make it a little denser this year and then allow it to grow out. But with SUGARTINA CRYSTALINA, this is a dwarf variety, so this will fit perfectly in a small garden, only getting 2 to 3 foot tall and wide. This is hardy from zones 4 to 9 and prefers sun to part shade. You're going to get a lot more blooms in the more sun you put it in, and that scent is going to be warmed up. It's going to smell like warm honey, and you are just going to be just so happy with it. It just smells so good. This gets yellow fall foliage on it, and it is medium deer resistancy, so they're going to just nip it, and if they nip it early in the spring, you're perfectly fine. And then it's also a space-saving native. You can't beat that. We also are going to be trying Sweet and Low Saracoca. I hope I said that right. This is from zones 5 to 9, and it is a evergreen broadleaf evergreen. It gets 1.5 to 2.5 feet high and only 2 to 3 foot wide. Takes part sun to shade. Spring blooming. It has red tipped white flowers, and this is supposed to have a jasmine-like scent. It's supposed to be a light scent, but any scent is good to me. I'll pick it up. I have a good whiffer on me. But it is a durable evergreen. Now I would say, because this is a broadleaf evergreen, that you give it some type of winter protection, so find a spot that's not going to get a lot of west or south winter winds. If you're in the colder zones, if you're in the lower zones, you shouldn't have any issue. But with us being in the colder zone, zone 6, we want to provide it some protection so that the leaves don't dehydrate as fast and they don't get any of the winter burn that comes along with that. FIZZY MIZZY Sweet Spire. Now this one's been out for a while and it's a good one. Sweet Spire is a native. It's very durable. It takes sun to shade. It only gets 2 to 3 foot tall and wide and is hardy from zones 5 through 9. I really like these pendulous type blooms that come in mass, and it does have a light fragrance. I don't generally pick that one up, which is odd. But I don't think I've actually gone to look for it. It's something that you might have to come up on to get that scent. Scent nonetheless. And it does, Sweet Spires tend to have a good fall color. If I remember correctly, it's between like a little bit of a yellowy orange. Any color is good color to me. These are great for dry to wet soils, very durable, great foundation plants. I can't recommend them enough, so much so that I have 8 of them coming for my project, and I already have one out back, so that's going to be 9 of them. And if I need more, I'll add more, because this is a really, really good durable plant that can go anywhere and can bring cohesion into my landscape. So it is native, I said that, and has low deer tolerance. A high deer tolerance. I've never noticed any deer browsing on that. 2 more. I'm going to be giving Stonehedge Skinny Yew a go. First off, we should be using more yew. It is a native shrub to the United States. This particular variety, I think, is actually a European species. I could be wrong, but it was not listed as the native for here. But taxes to me all looks the same, so I feel like the birds are going to think it's all the same. This particular variety gets 6 to 8 foot tall and only 8 to 10 inches wide. Super tall, skinny. There's no pruning needed. This can go in sun to full shade. So this is going to stay really columnar. I'm putting these along our fence between our patio and the sidewalk that goes into our backyard, just so we can get a little bit of privacy. These ones are going to be in quick turn pots, which means they're little quartz, so small shrubs, but the Stonehenge series is supposed to grow a little bit faster than normal yew, so it should fill in within a few years if I push them a little bit with some fertilizers. Other than that, I'm not too worried about it. I could possibly use it somewhere else or pot them up. We'll see. It is not deer resistant. You will get mauled down unless you have massive ones, and then suddenly a deer population shows up. I made the mistake of doing a few small ones out in our yard a couple years ago, and they got mauled down. And then the last one on my list is Golden Shadows Dogwood. Now, this one has seen its day in the garden center. I actually picked it up many years ago. I got a beautiful shrub. It started doing its horizontal layers like it's known for. Beautiful variegated foliage. When we moved here, I brought it with me. I planted it in a stupid spot because these guys do like some moisture. So it needs a good watering at least once a week if you're not getting adequate rainfall. Needs part sun. It was in part sun. It was just dry. This poor thing struggled. Finally, it started dying off, and I said, I'm sorry, little buddy, but you're going to go. I'm getting the opportunity again. I'm going to plant it in the spot that I want it, and I'm going to leave it. I promise. So this is hardy from zones 3 to 8. This is going to get about 10 to 12 foot tall and wide, but it has that nice open, airy, horizontal habit with the yellow margins on the outside and a deep green in the center. This is also going to bloom for you in spring with white flowers. It has a medium deer resistancy to it. So this is considered a small tree to large shrub. So it just depends on how you're going to limit up, if you want the tree look or if you want the shrub look. Right now, I'm not quite sure which direction I'm going to go with. I just want to get it in, get it settled, and get it started growing. That's my main key of, deal right now. That's what I want to happen. I hope you guys are excited for spring like I am. I'm anxious to try a number of these plants. Some of them I've had before, like I've said, and some of these are going to be new for me. I have to still figure out where a number of them are going, but I'm just really excited to really get some more structure in my yard, because I really worked backwards in my yard, and I'm going to fix that now, and we're going to be making some more changes. So there's a few other things that I still want to try from proven winners, so I'll pick those up in the garden centers this year, but we're going to be mixing and matching a lot of different plants in this yard to create a beautiful garden that is long-lasting and durable, and that's really what excites me. So thanks for stopping by. I will talk to you in the next video.